Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy of the proposal.
Boo! What are we booing? Kirsten Sinema's outfit? Marjorie Taylor Greene looking like Cruella DeVille? The fact that George Santos somehow still is in this chamber? No, those are Republicans at the State of the Union address mad that President Biden would even dream of suggesting that they want to cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. Come on, Jack, it's not the majority, just a few bad apples in a moldy pie that Jill forgot in the back of our fridge. Clearly, Republicans are offended by their own ideas. Republicans have dreamed of cutting so-called entitlement programs ever since Donald Trump was in diapers, i.e. last week. Senator Rick Scott has a current plan to sunset entitlement programs that even he can't defend publicly.
Recently put out an 11-point plan to rescue America, two of the big points of which are, quote, all Americans should pay some income tax. It also says all federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. So that would raise taxes on half of Americans and potentially sunset programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Why would you propose something like that in an election year?
Sure. Well, John, that's, of course, the Democrat talking points. It's a 11-step plan.
No, it's in the plan. It's in the plan.
But here's let's think about reality for a second. First of all, let's talk about Medicare.
But Senator, hang on.
John.
So it's not a Democratic talking point. It's in the plan.
Yeah, that's a talking point, which, by the way, could I get one? Because I really need one right now. Rick Scott is backing away from his mess faster than a dog who had an accident on a carpet. So what do others like Senator Marco Rubio think of his plan?
Have you seen Rick Scott's 11-point plan? What do you think about that?
I haven't seen the plan. I've read about it. I think it's good that people offer ideas.
It's good? All right, well, what about Senator Mike Lee, who in 2010, behind closed doors, said that he wanted to pull up Social Security by its roots. But then this was his face when President Biden suggested that he wanted to do just that.
It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it. Here, people who advise me politically always tell me that's dangerous, and I tell them, in that case, it's not worth my running. That's why I'm doing this, to get rid of that.
I love how performatively shocked Mike Lee is there. This is the same face that he gave when he was asked about the GOP's cocaine-fueled orgies. And it's not just senators. Here's Representative Matt Gaetz speaking about cutting Medicaid just a few days ago.
But the argument from the other side, and you know this, is Matt Gaetz wants to take your Social Security and wants to take your Medicaid and Medicare. That's what he wants to do. He's mean. He doesn't want you to have your money that you sent into the government. He doesn't think that you should have it back. And of course, that's untrue. But what response do you give to that? Because a lot of people in America are busy and will believe what they hear.
Well, I think that everyone has said that Social Security and Medicare are sacred cows in this debt limit negotiation. I accept that premise, but Medicaid doesn't get that same treatment. There's plenty of meat on the bone in Medicaid.
There's still some meat on the bone? My dude, you probably don't want to use that metaphor considering we're talking about healthcare for poor children. It just makes you sound like a cannibal or a vulture with a really big forehead. And yet, somehow Democrats are the baby eaters? Right. So the GOP can boo all they want, but President Biden is right. They have floated cutting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And he used their protests to get them right where he wanted them.
So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are, let's stand up for seniors. Stand up and show them. We'll not cut Social Security. We will not cut Medicare. Those benefits belong to the American people. They earned it. And if anyone tries to cut Social Security, which apparently no one's going to do, and if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them.
You hear that? I hear applause. Is that agreement? Does that mean you agree with the rightful winner of the 2020 election, who is in fact your president? Wow. Don't tell MAGA voters, but President Biden just secured their retirement. Let's go, Brandon.
The thing I'm really concerned about with this, Laura, is that the left becomes a turnout machine with young people.
Uh-oh, someone's afraid. That there is Kellyanne Conway, an old Barbie that became a dog's chew toy and former senior counsel to President Trump, with, for once in her life, not alternative facts, but some cold, hard truths for the GOP. She makes a damn good point. Gen Z will become a major voting bloc come 2024, and they were already a force to be reckoned with in 2020 and 2022. Conway was on Laura Ingram's show on Fox in a segment that's clearly about stirring outrage over trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. And she's basically saying that she's less worried about that and more worried about Gen Z becoming voters. And yet the faux outrage over Mulvaney is precisely part of why Conway and others should be scared. They're taking aim at a massively beloved TikTok influencer with 10 million followers for no other reason than the fact that she's trans.
Because influencers have this domino effect, lemming-like effect of people just all then wanting to be part of the same crowd. And if they succeed in that way, we're not doing a great job competing for ballots. We're just competing for votes. Our candidates lost the early voting miserably last time. I mean, someone like Dr. Oz lost the early vote to John Fetterman by over 4-1. So we need to compete for ballots, not just voters and not just minds. And I think they're trying to do that with these influencers.
Maybe Conway is finally listening to her daughter, Claudia, who herself became a TikTok influencer for a bit and has even dabbled in democratic socialism. Ooh. Who would have thought that when you ban books from their schools, refuse to pass gun control to keep them safer in school, and do nothing about climate change to make sure there's a habitable planet for them in the future, that young people would hate your f***ing guts? Add to that Gen Z's progressive attitudes towards gender identity and sexuality, all while GOP lawmakers are putting in more work into stopping trans people from existing than they ever have in their own bedrooms. And throw in a little forced birthing crusade as a cherry on top, and yeah, you've got a landslide turnout Sunday, or Tuesday. Now, let's complete that Sunday with some sprinkles, like the fact that Republicans want to also ban TikTok. That's like coming after baby tees and Doc Martens for my generation, or coming after baseball cards for boomers. It's not gonna work. But don't take my word for it, let's ask an actual Gen Z TikToker what they think.
What Republicans don't understand about Gen Z is that we're here to stay and we're only getting more powerful. In 2020, President Biden won because of young voters. In 2022, Democrats expanded their majority in the Senate because of young voters. In 2023, Wisconsin now has a liberal Supreme Court because of young voters. And we're going to do it again in 2024, and that should terrify the Republican Party.
Ooh, he's riled up. Look at those rosy cheeks and that flush face. Oh, he means business. And things have gotten even more heated ever since 2 Tennessee lawmakers led a gun control protest and then were summarily expelled, since reinstated. But ooh, look out, because young folks might have access to way more weed gummies, but they are not slacking on this one.
After what happened in Tennessee last week, when you had the 2 youngest black members of the Tennessee state legislature literally get expelled simply for protesting with young people about gun violence. And young people see this clearly. We are seeing what's happening with this Republican Party. You mentioned that we paid attention when Dobbs fell. We're paying attention now more than ever before. The number of young people who I've heard from who have told me that what they're seeing in Tennessee right now is concerning, is more than I've ever seen before. Young people are paying attention. I think Republicans in Tennessee and also, frankly, across the country are unleashing something that they are going to regret come 2024.
Now, none of these issues, gun control, climate action, abortion rights, civil rights, drag shows, have to be partisan. I mean, just ask Anthony DeVolder and all the other Republicans who've done drag. Like, which Republican hasn't dressed in drag or done blackface? Raise your hands. Republicans are digging their own grave or hiring others to dig it for them. They don't actually do manual labor. But the real issue is that instead of changing their policies, the GOP wants to change the rules by making it harder to vote. See, that's how they stay in power. They gerrymander, they suppress, they close polling stations and eliminate early voting. Laura Ingraham herself even went on later in that segment to effectively argue for the GOP to do more of that. The GOP is a minoritarian party. They believe in minority rule. So we shall see how it all shakes out. But kids, my bad for ever judging you, all right? Keep eating Tide Pods and NyQuil chicken, whatever you gotta do to fight the power.